Hi, everybody. This is Holly Herrick. I'm head of film at Austin Film Society, and I'm here with the directors of Nothing, No Better, who I will ask to introduce themselves.
I'm Ben Powell, and co-director with my brother Bo.
Hey guys, I'm Bo Powell.
Welcome, guys. So AFS had the honor of getting involved with this film sort of early in production. We're just finishing another feature that you made, Barge, which was an observational documentary about the barge workers on the Mississippi River. And so once again, you've returned to a region that a lot of people may have not seen or known about. And can you talk a little bit about that philosophy with your films of revealing these corners of America and American South that people might not have seen?
Bo, you want to start?
Yeah, I think, since we're from that area and we wanted to always highlight that place where we were from and showcase some of the people that we've met and some of the characters and things like that, it kind of just was a great starting point for us to get into filmmaking and making pictures and doing things like that, because it's right in our backyard and it was just easy access to people and resources. And I think we wanted to utilize as much as we can, what we had available to us immediately. So growing up, it was always fascinating to visit these places and see this whole world that was taking place over there, and hopefully we can highlight some of that stuff that's going on.
And I think the second project kind of started just because we've always liked to just ride around and take pictures here and see where those kind of trips take us, and they always seem to go into Rosedale and end up with some kind of experience there. And that was kind of the process with this one, was just kind of coming here when we could at the same time, and just getting together and making pictures together. And I think this one was sort of we wanted to start something right after Barge came out, and we already had a lot of material that we were using to sort of structure some sort of narrative, or at least get starting with a shooting style. And I think the style eventually kind of grew into a formula after a couple of shoots, and then really the entire feature is mainly made up of the last couple of shoots where we were we knew what we were going in to get, and things sort of started to click at that point.
So the film's sort of the premise is almost portraiture and self, the way that people express themselves on film or choose to express themselves on film. And it sort of takes us almost through a picture book of these characters in Rosedale. And can you talk a little bit about that strategy and what that meant to you guys?
Yeah, I think we started off sort of making little sketches of people and of atmospheric kind of moody kind of things. And then we would kind of go back and talk to each other between shoots and sort of decide what are we thinking about here, and who are the primary people that we can focus on, and what's been working. But yeah, I think ultimately from my perspective, trying to edit something that was all this footage that we had, it just made more sense to sort of break it up and highlight different people and have these little vignettes almost, and then sort of approach it that way, to where it could be one cohesive piece, but also you could get little bites of a person or an individual or just a personality, versus carrying someone throughout the whole film.
I think that kind of also evolved into sort of this idea of portraiture, and sort of, naturally we started to sort of wander upon people that were also taking pictures, and they sort of worked into this sort of theme of self-representation, or community representation. And we wanted to sort of blend, like you're saying, a real life moment on this backdrop between the filmmaker and the subject, and then sort of cut that off completely, and sort of take people into their worlds without any kind of interaction with the camera necessarily.
Right. And I feel like there's something about this style that speaks to the method that you guys are using as very low budget independent filmmakers, that you're making this all from your own means, and then says something also about the South in general and the kinds of storytelling opportunities that are open to people from the South, having fewer resources, not having our stories always be the stories that people care about, really, you know. And so, but there's something about you elevating, you know, a place that people haven't been with very, very modest means, that seems kind of cohesive to the type of story you're creating. And I wondered if you could talk about that a little more.
Sure. Bo, you want to start?
Well, I guess we really felt that we didn't want people to continue to look at this area in like a sad kind of way. We knew that it wasn't being, you know, like you said, elevated at all. But we always felt like so much love and joy and all these things being a part of that part of the country, and to be able to highlight it and showcase some people or some things, you know, I think that was what we set out to do, to just really celebrate it in a different way than, you know, typically you would see those areas of the country featured, I guess.
Yeah, like I think Paul, you mentioned one of the, you know, after you watched it, you felt like you sort of you know, you watched like some kind of like inspirational tourism video, and you know, like wanting to move here is certainly like something that we talked about a lot, especially with you know, one of the characters, Eddie, who sort of takes us through a tour of this place. And you know, for us, we just talked about that all the time. Like this, we're kind of making this weird, you know, Mississippi tourism project that is sort of from an alternate universe, and you know, not necessarily you know, with any kind of specific, you know, goals in mind, but you know, somehow it is sort of just a tour of this place that you kind of you experience, and I think that was, yeah, definitely something we tried to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like deep histories are revealed in that way without you sort of superimposing a narrative in a traditional documentary structure, but that we get where the race lines are drawn and where the industry lines are drawn. And I found it so compelling to see that in a story like this without the narrative constructed along those lines.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It just seems to emerge on its own and allow us a window in, with a lighter touch.
Thank you. I mean, we definitely you know, spent the majority of time, you know, just basically trying to meet as many people as we could, you know, and see who we sort of wanted to include in the film. And you know, there's a lot of people that aren't in the film, and you know, it just didn't work necessarily with the editing. You know, it wasn't any kind of like, oh, we need this character, this thing. It was just you know, basically the best moments that made actual scenes, you know. And a lot of times we didn't get lucky, but sometimes, you know, there's just these moments that we feel like told the story in a short amount of time. Yeah.
What do you, when you meet with, there's so many young people in the film, you know, people in their 20s and kids, and a wonderful, you know, mise en abîme where you're following a filmmaker, a young filmmaker who's, you know, in probably grade school or middle school. And I wonder sort of what when you're with these young people in Mississippi, and you know, and then you see the shut down stores and the fact that there aren't clear pathways for where they go. What's that experience like? And with your close ties to Mississippi, what do you see as the pathways for the community?
I think with the kids that we got to participate with in the film, there's a really cool project down there that's run by one of the guys that was helping us sort of scout stuff down there, called the Freedom Project. And they work with a lot of kids in Rosedale sort of throughout the year, right, Ben? Like they do summer school, but also I think it's more like after school program stuff. And it's like all the kids in town go there and are having like the best time, and they're learning film and they're learning photography. And it seems like it's just such a great program that's been set up for these kids to have something to do. And it's, you know, clearly making them have more of a path in terms of like education and alternatives to just like hanging out on the streets, or hanging out at home or not going to school. It just seems like a really positive thing. And we, you know, got a lot of inspiration from that place and hung out there a lot, and learned a lot about, you know, what the kids are, you know, used to and what they're doing. It's a pretty great thing. Our friend Jeremiah was head up of that, and he helped us a lot with the film too.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say the what they have is more than what we had, I guess, you know, when we were here. So it's nice to see that, you know, people are learning, you know, how to play instruments, and, you know, there's art programs in place. And so, yeah, focusing on that is again, it's like that's the sort of direction that hopefully can continue and grow in that place that sort of, you know, needs the youth to sort of do that, you know.
Well, the sense of community is palpable, and that you do see that incredible, you know, scene of some of those after school programs, and the way that that those kids feel so connected to each other and to community. And I think that's a very different portrait than what we see often from other places around the country, where that sense of a real community bond and support is more disintegrated. So I think that's also something different, I think, that this film is offering in terms of its views on the South.
Yeah, it is pretty surprising. That place really felt like just so welcoming, and the community really, you know, was behind it. And I think they've got really good teachers that are coming down there, and they're just really dedicated to those children and to the cause and to helping in whatever way they can, whether it's through the arts or just, you know, having just a talk with kids down there just about anything that's going on in their life, and getting them to express that. I think it's really, really nice. And like Ben said, it's a lot more than probably what we had access to. I don't think Ben and I even had like art school that was like part of the general education at our high school. So it's kind of like, for these kids to have this at a young age, it's wonderful. And to have, you know, teachers who are that dedicated to them and, you know, can do that, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk about working together as siblings?
Yeah. Yeah, it came up a lot while we were shooting. Absolutely. I think we both have different backgrounds. Bo's, you know, comes from photography, and I sort of got more of a film background. And so, yeah, it's where a lot of these conversations led was about the image, and that it was always interesting.
I think we always wanted to try to do something together. And I think we're living in two different places most of our adult life too. I think, you know, Ben went off to school and I went off to school, and we always wanted to bring that back together. I mean, so this was an attempt to bring these two things together and try to work something out. And yeah, I think we did okay with it. I mean, we definitely had some times where we disagreed with some things, but luckily we had some good people that we're working with, and you know, we were to be on our best behavior in front of them, so that's good. So there weren't too many squabbles. So yeah, I think we did all right. We'll do it again, maybe. Yeah.
It's always good to have a third voice. Hard with two.
Will you guys have other projects that you'll work on together?
Yeah, definitely.
We do some commercial stuff that we've worked on before, and anytime I work with my wife too, and anytime we have a project that involves anything that Ben can do, we always involve him. So we're always trying to work together to get it done.
Do y'all see more possibilities for films from Mississippi, or for your own films from Mississippi?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think, you know, after making a second one, it just makes sense to continue to do work here and spend time here with cameras. It's, you know, our parents still live here, so it's always nice to just if we have a week or so to get here and make some pictures, it's always worth it. And it's like you were saying, it's a pretty cheap and efficient way to make a film. And it seems like hopefully, if we keep doing it here, we can sort of grow a bit more of a crew base. Like Arthur film, I definitely want to work with him and sort of, hopefully make some more projects with him as a photographer, young director of photography.
Ben and I are always like really inspired with Mississippi still. I think even when we go back just to visit and we're together, we're making some kind of project, whether it's with our kids or, with our dad or something like that. We're always focused on something that's going on within the moment and, just trying to be creative and create some fun content for our families or for ourselves or just to stay busy. So it's something we'll always return to. And I feel like any opportunity to be in town together will be opportunity to work on something. So whether it's, our dad doing something weird and we're shooting that, or, it's just like a place to get together to like talk about new things, something will definitely come up. So it's always a good place to be.
What kind of weird stuff can we expect from your dad?
I can send you some stuff that I think you enjoy. He grew up in a small town in Mississippi, and he's always telling stories about this town. So we really want to go over there and let him sort of be a tour guide and talk about these things that happened when he was growing up and just kind of show us his version of the town. Mm-hmm. We've always talked about doing that, but generally we just shoot him doing weird stuff all the time too. So he's been a muse for us a lot, and he loves being in front of the camera. So that's always fun.
Mm-hmm. There's a graduation ceremony that it just got basically canceled, but our dad takes pictures of the graduation. So it might be an interesting film to have him, basically taking pictures of this event that got canceled. Like there's nobody in the audience except Bill. That could be a good film.
Sure.
Love it. Well, I think that's all the time we have, but it has been such a pleasure talking to you guys about this movie, and I hope lots of people get to see it now that we're releasing it at austinfilm.org. So thanks for joining us, and looking forward to seeing the next Mississippi movie by the Powell brothers.
Thank you, Holly. Appreciate it.
Happy quarantine, y'all. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.